Hey everyone, this is Ryan, and welcome to Doctor's Watcher,
the podcast where I watch Doctor Who and I tell you all about it. And this is Kyle.
Indeed. So, how's it going? This is pretty fun. My first full episode of Doctor's Watcher.
Yeah, totally. I'm excited to get into it. Should be a good time. I'm doing all right. I figure I should probably give the listeners a bit of a medical health update for myself, because I think I mentioned all the shit I was doing on a recent episode. The basic update is pretty much all good news. My surgery itself went well, no complications or anything, and the pathologist said that the margins were clear, which means that they think they got all of the tumor out. So theoretically, I should not have to repeat this in like 10 or 15 years.
Nice.
And yeah, in the meantime, I am still in recovery for a few more weeks. I'm wearing like a compression binder and shit, but there's not really that much pain anymore. And like my range of motion is like mostly where I would like it to be. So
nice. And you can get back to incessantly saying, "It's not a tumor."
Totally. Yeah, my partner was, joking about how, I basically went through a big knife fight and gonna have a hell of a scar to show for it.
It's a cutlass wound.
Yeah,
awesome.
Totally. So that's kind of most what I've been up to recently, is just like trying to chill and take it easy and not spend too much effort or energy on anything. So
probably smart.
I think you're kind of probably at the opposite end of the spending energy on things spectrum at the moment.
Indeed. Yep. I've been doing all sorts of crap. I guess I won't go into the full debacle of what happened. I don't know. It's a long-ass story, but we were trying to move to Georgia, and we thought we had a place, but now we don't.
Oh, shit.
But, yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess long story short on that, we had a good place, good price, good location, yada, yada, good house, very cool. It had these custom floors that kind of they were like, I don't know what they were made from, but they looked sort of like nebulas in space. They were all like swishy-washy with like black background and then swirls of color and crap like that.
Nice.
In the basement. Very cool. We made an offer. The offer was accepted, yada, yada. And then we got to the inspection part, and the inspection turned up multiple health hazards.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, like radon, for example, which is the second leading cause of lung cancer. A few different things. Very stupid. Anyway, we walked from the offer, and now we don't have a for sure place in Georgia. But in the meantime, our house here in Florida did sell, and we have to be out by the 30th, so we've been packing like crazy. We've got an Airbnb set up in Georgia so that we can actually have some place to go. We have movers and stuff that are coming to get all our crap. One nice thing is the people that are buying the house also bought most of the furniture, so that will definitely save on moving costs.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
But I'll tell you, the worst part, or one of the worst parts about the whole thing, is my new synthesizer just got an update that kicks ass. And 3 of my favorite video games all got kick-ass updates. And I haven't really been able to try them. And Lower Decks,
Yeah.
I'm 3 or 4 episodes behind now, and I think the finale already played.
Yeah, the finale was just, 2 days ago? Yeah, that's right.
So
Well,
no spoilers because I'm behind on everything.
I won't say any spoilers, but I fucking loved it. It was awesome.
Awesome.
I'm sad that the series is over.
Yeah, very sad. One of the best Treks ever.
Yeah.
And I fully expect that the finale was just fantastic. There's almost nothing bad about that show.
Yeah, totally. I will say, this is not a spoiler for the show, but the creator of dinosaur comics, Ryan North, who has also done like some Marvel comics like Squirrel Girl and some other stuff, he is writing an ongoing Lower Decks comic book series.
Oh.
I've only read the first issue. The second issue just came out, I think, a week or so ago, and I haven't been to my comic shop to pick it up yet, but I really enjoyed the first issue. I enjoyed the short. He did a limited run series of 3 or 4 issues a year or so ago that were great. So yeah, I would recommend checking those out to kind of fill in the gap that No More Lower Decks is going to leave in our lives.
Well, that's awesome. I will definitely have to check that out because, yeah, Ryan North is funny dude.
He also just recently published a book called Lower Decks Warp Your Own Way, which is an interactive graphic novel. So it's basically like a Lower Decks graphic novel, choose your own adventure.
Wow.
And yeah,
awesome.
I also highly, highly recommend that.
That sounds super cool. Well, I guess to kind of wrap up my little what have you been up to section, I have to admit I did try out the Caves of Cud 1.0 release, and it's fantastic.
Nice. That one's been on my list for a while.
Yeah, it's expensive for a roguelike. It's like a $30 game, but it's well worth it. Just their characterization of this post-apocalyptic land and all the crazy mutations and cybernetics and weird creatures you can meet and mentally possess and then control them or obliterate them with your 6 arms, each wielding an axe, or
nice.
Make friends with them and share water with them, and then they become your friend and give you secrets that you can then sell later. It's just, there's so much you can do. Probably one of the best, if not the best game I've ever played.
Nice, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, good times, very busy. Glad to have this break in the midst of the chaos.
Sweet. Well, shall we get to the reason for this break in the midst of the chaos?
Yes, let's do it.
Awesome. This is the 9th episode of season 4 of Doctor Who, and it is The Power of the Daleks, episode 1.
Ooh.
This is, a new serial, so I like to mention the writer and the director generally. The serial was written by David Whittaker, which is definitely a name that we've heard before. David Whittaker wrote The Edge of Destruction. He wrote The Rescue. He wrote The Crusade. And apparently he has 4 more serials coming down the road eventually after this one.
Wow, okay. Cool. Those were some pretty good ones, if I recall correctly.
Uh-huh.
Not without issues, but generally good. And
the director is also a name that's been around Doctor Who a bit. It's directed by Christopher Barry, who is not the same guy as Chris Berry, who played Rimmer in Red Dwarf.
Dang it.
But yeah, the Doctor Who Christopher Berry has been around since pretty early on. He directed about half of the original Daleks serial. He also directed The Rescue, so he's worked with David Whittaker. And he directed The Romans and The Savages, and apparently he's got like 5 more serials after this.
Wow, okay. Don't you mean the less technologically advanced people?
I do, yeah, that's right.
Cool. So, as I have learned from the previous master, now is the time for me to say, how'd you watch it?
So for your first time asking this question, Ryan, I have a kind of an unusual and exciting answer.
Oh, cool.
Which is that I watched it on BritBox, but animated.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, the original episode itself, or the original serial itself, kind of a spoiler for the rest of the serial, is missing.
Okay.
But they animated it for the serial's 50th anniversary in 2016. I guess at that time they made a black and white and a color version of the animation, but BritBox only had the black and white version, so that's what I'm watching.
That's fair. I imagine probably the original was also in black and white anyway, right?
Yeah, we're definitely still in the black and white era.
Okay. Well, cool. So I guess, did they have like the audio of them, or is this like in the animated version, is it new actors and everything, or voice actors?
No, it's all the original audio. So that's
Cool.
kind of nice.
Yeah, very cool. For some reason, I thought that BritBox wouldn't put any of a series up unless, like, if any of it was lost. Was that incorrect?
No, that seems to be what they've been doing. I was honestly a little bit surprised that this one was on BritBox. I'm not sure like what the difference is, because we've definitely had, I think it was Galaxy 4 where there was like some episodes were still existing and the missing ones had official BBC animations, but BritBox didn't have it for whatever reason. So, yeah, I'm not entirely
Weird.
sure why they had this, but it's cool that they do.
Yeah, very cool. Okay.
Do you recall what our cliffdingler was from the previous episode?
Well, yeah, the Doctor regenerated, and I'm trying to remember exactly how it ended. Didn't it kind of end with the companions being like, what? And like, that was it?
I don't even remember if we even got that much. I think it might have just ended like on the regeneration itself.
I was imagining them. I must have been imagining them going like, what? In my head.
So yeah, this animated version starts off by, basically replaying the regeneration, but like an animated version of the regeneration, which is kind of cool. The animated version actually makes it, I thought, a little bit more clear that the Doctor is changing, just because like the video quality of the previous episode was not great. So
Cool.
we start off with that, and then Polly and Ben just kind of like stand around, kind of stunned or shocked for a minute. They're trying to figure out like what happened. They, obviously they can see that there's what seems to be a different person here than the Doctor they've been hanging out with. They saw the William Hartnell doctor enter the TARDIS, but then when they went in, like, there's this different dude here now.
So they came in, like, after the whole process happened.
I'm not sure I think they were there. Well, yeah, I'm not sure what their timing was, if it was after the regeneration or during the regeneration that they entered.
Okay.
But yeah, so they're kind of trying to figure out, like, if this new dude is actually the doctor or not.
Ben, do you remember what he said in the tracking room? Something about this old body of mine is wearing a bit thin.
So he gets himself a new one?
Well, yes.
That's handy. I would like to do that.
Yeah, I could use a new body.
Yeah.
Ben's like, that's fucking impossible. And Polly's like, yeah, well, a few episodes ago, we were saying that about lots of things. Which,
Quite.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So this new person who, presumably is the doctor, kind of starts waking up. He's been, basically unconscious on the floor for the first minute or two of the episode. And he's younger looking than the doctor used to be. He has a pretty Beatlesy, like, mop top haircut.
Nice.
He's still wearing, like, William Hartnell clothing with, like, his big cloak and everything. All the clothes are kind of, like, a little bit too big for him. And he sits up and then basically, like, immediately starts clutching his head in pain. And we kind of start, hearing his perspective, and what we hear is, like, kind of a loud whistling noise and a loud thumping noise. And we see from his point of view for a moment as he looks at Ben and Polly, and he basically sees, like, several blurry copies of Ben and Polly just kind of all swirling through his vision.
Stop! Concentrate on one thing.
We've all been there, I'm sure.
But, he, like, sits there for a moment. He starts to gain his focus, and the whistling and thumping noises kind of fade away, and, like, his blurry and swirling vision, kind of coalesces into, a single image, and he's able to get himself up to his feet. And yeah, when he stands up, like I mentioned, like, his clothes are all kind of too big for him. He's still got the big cloak on, which he shrugs off, and, cloak drops to the ground, and he basically just starts pulling TARDIS levers and gets the TARDIS dematerializing.
Nice. He should be driving while he's so hungover, but whatever.
Yeah, and, unclear how much he's driving versus how much the TARDIS just kind of drives itself, so...
True. Good point.
When he drops his cloak to the ground, the doctor's big signet ring also drops to the ground. Presumably it doesn't fit his fingers anymore, I'm guessing. And Polly picks it up and examines it. She gets a pretty high roll on her investigation check, and the DM's like, yeah, this is definitely the doctor's ring. And so she basically becomes convinced that this is indeed still the doctor.
Smart.
He starts rummaging through a chest in the TARDIS control room, like a storage chest, and he finds a mirror in, like, a nice frame, and he makes Ben hold the mirror up for him to look into it, and he looks in the mirror, he sees his new face, and then it kind of like fades into William Hartnell's face for a few moments, and then like fades back into his new face.
Cool.
He keeps digging through the chest, and he finds like basically some souvenirs from previous serials. He finds a dagger from Saladin in the Crusade serial, which I thought was kind of funny given that the writer of this serial also wrote The Crusade.
Nice.
He also finds what looks like just kind of a weird piece of metal. And this piece of metal seems to remind him of the concept of extermination.
The Doctor was a great collector, wasn't he?
But you're the Doctor.
Oh, I don't look like him.
Smartass. I like it.
Ben says that the Doctor always wore the ring. So if this dude is the Doctor, the ring should fit him. But he tries it, and of course it is way too big.
There, that settles it. I'd like to see a butterfly fit into a chrysalis case after it spread its wings.
Then you did change.
Life depends on change and renewal.
Nice.
He basically says that it's like a feature of the TARDIS that keeps him alive.
I believe that gets retconned later.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see, like, kind of when they decide or figure out, like, what's actually happening. Because this, I had kind of thought, like, after my fun watch, I was remembering, I think the episode kind of implied that it was the TARDIS. But then in my notes watch, I'm like, no, it wasn't implied. It was pretty much, like, directly stated that it was the TARDIS.
Huh. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I think New Who pretty much says that that's what Gallifreyans just do.
Right, yeah.
Interesting.
He remembers that the Doctor always kept a diary. So he keeps digging through the chest, trying to find this diary. He does find a recorder, which, by which I mean the flute-like instrument that we all learned to play in elementary school.
Okay.
And he seems, like, pretty happy about this find. He pulls it out and, like, plays a little jig on it. And
Does it sound as crappy as recorders always sound?
Pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun. He does find a book in the chest, and the book is labeled 500-Year Diary. And he gets, like, immediately absorbed in reading it. Polly asks what will happen to her and Ben, and the Doctor basically just says that the TARDIS has been landed for a while now, and they should probably go check shit out outside.
Get to it.
Ben's like, dude, you haven't even checked, like, the atmosphere or temperature or whatever. Like, how do you even know it's safe here? And the Doctor's like,
Oxygen density 172, radiation nil, temperature 86. Strong suggestion of mercury deposits. Satisfied, Ben? Now, are you two coming or are you not?
Nice.
Polly points out that, like, he used Ben's name, so theoretically he does know and remember them, but Ben thinks that he may have just been, like, copying Polly, who had used Ben's name earlier. The presumed Doctor pulls this, like, kind of tall, rounded stovepipe hat out of the chest, and puts it on and heads on out of the TARDIS, still like with his eyes glued to the 500-year diary. He's like reading it as he walks.
Nice.
Are you struggling with the stresses of modern life? Here is an easy solution for all of your problems. First, relax. Then, open up your browser or your podcast listening device. Navigate to the Doctor's Watcher and begin leaving 5-star ratings. You will soon feel the stress begin to melt away. Once you begin sharing the podcast with friends and family, you will feel enveloped in a warm, calm, peaceful feeling. Relax.
Outside, he wanders around a bit, still facing the diary. He almost walks right into a steaming puddle of mercury, but he somehow like manages to avoid it without even watching where he's going. He like stops at the edge and turns or whatever and ends up walking straight into a puddle of water instead.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. He calls out to Pollen to, see if they're coming, and then continues wandering. He comes to sort of like a smaller, medium-sized boulder, and first he pulls a tape measure out of his pocket and starts like taking all sorts of measurements of the boulder, and then he kind of looks down at his legs and says,
Time I put you through some tests, I think.
And then he like runs and leapfrogs himself over the boulder.
Sweet, yeah, good way to get acquainted with the new digs.
He hears a voice calling out though after this.
Hello! Is there anyone there? Hello! Hello! Why don't they come?
And this voice is coming from a man, and when this man sees the Doctor, the man says that he's the examiner from Earth. And before the Doctor has a chance to reply to this, we hear a gunshot, and the examiner falls to the ground dead.
Uh-oh. He examines his last examination.
The Doctor looks around. It doesn't see anybody. So he rolls an investigation check on the body and basically discovers that this man was wearing a big round badge. So the Doctor first reaches into his pocket and pulls out his spectacles and puts them on to try to read the badge, but that actually makes it all blurry, and he has to take them off to read the badge.
Nice.
Earth Examiner. Accord every access. Vulcan.
Is what the badge says.
So, this must be post Vulcan contact.
Another dude who's holding a pistol kind of sneaks up behind the Doctor. The Doctor doesn't hear or notice him coming, and this dude is wearing an all-white suit. It's kind of like, what you might wear in a scientific lab or like a clean room or whatever. And he's also wearing goggles.
Is it like one of those like onesie suits? Or is it like a jacket?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
It was a onesie. I think it even had like a hood over his head.
Nice.
But we hear Ben call out for the Doctor, and this new guy like quickly hides again without the Doctor having seen him. Ben and Polly start to explore the area, and Polly is fascinated by the mercury pools and how beautiful they are. And so she crouches down to get a good look at one, but when she does, a big cloud of mercury vapor puffs up from it and gets her right in the face.
Ooh, she gonna go mad as a hatter.
Uh-huh. She starts coughing, obviously, and she passes out, and Ben catches her and basically calls again for the doctor, who starts running back toward the TARDIS. But on his way back, this mysterious other guy appears again and basically pistol whips the doctor and knocks him unconscious.
Oh, damn. New body's really getting put to the test.
Yeah, seriously. This mysterious guy puts a button or a trinket of some sort into the doctor's hands and then drags away the dead body of the examiner, I guess to go hide it or whatever. Meanwhile, Ben is trying to drag Polly to safety, but then there's another cloud of mercury vapor and Ben passes out, and the last thing he sees before he passes out is this mysterious pistol guy approaching him.
Dang.
So, as Ben passes out, the screen fades to black, and then when it fades up again, there are two guys in these, white lab suits and goggles. But their goggles are pushed up now. We can see their whole faces. We don't really know whether one of them was the mysterious pistol guy or not. And they discuss how it's strange that Earth has chosen to send an examiner here to Vulcan now, because the examiner isn't actually due here for 2 more years.
Weird.
Ben starts waking up at this point, and these two guys introduce themselves to him as Quinn, deputy governor, and Bragan, head of security. They tell Ben that they saw his rocket overshoot the landing area, but don't worry because most of the Earth ships overshoot the landing area.
Dumbasses.
They say that they're sure that, Ben and the other Earth people probably can't wait to examine Lesterson's space capsule. And Ben's just
Hi?
We cut to sort of a fancy, futuristic looking cityscape. And then we cut to the inside of a laboratory where there is indeed a very large space capsule looking thing. And there's a scientist here, Lesterson, who is polishing a piece of metal. Actually looks pretty similar to the piece of metal that the doctor found in the TARDIS chest earlier. Lesterson's assistant, Janley, tells him that an examiner from Earth is here, but Lesterson says that they can't stop him working on the capsule. Janley basically starts talking to him about wanting him to join some sort of political pressure group that she's part of and try to help improve the colony. But he's not really interested in that.
Now, look, I don't mind letting you have the use of one of my rooms now and again, Janley, but don't try to involve me. This is what I find important. 200 years in a mercury swamp, and this piece of metal that dropped from it. Look, a couple of minutes polishing, and it's as good as new.
Huh. Nice metal. So what's this capsule thing he's working... what does the capsule look like?
It's, I guess basically sort of what you might, sort of pretty similar to like what NASA was making in the 60s and 70s, just like it's pretty large, and I think it was, kind of cylindrical and cone shaped. It's got a door in it that they haven't been able to open yet.
Does it have like legs like a lander or something like that? Or just kind of like a capsule shape?
I think it was on its side. Just kind of, capsule shaped. Janley says that she thinks the governor brought the examiner here, or like called for the examiner to come or whatever, to stop Lesterson from opening the capsule, and that she really thinks that he should think about joining her political group.
You might need us one day.
Interesting. I guess it's probably good to be friends with activists, if they're, good activists, I guess.
Paulin and the doctor have basically all been taken to guest quarters, and they're all recovered from the mercury vapors and recovered from being unconscious and everything. The doctor is playing his recorder and basically won't directly answer Ben and Polly's questions other than via recorder.
You must be pretty good on that thing.
So the murdered man was the real examiner. Why didn't you say you did it?
And before long, a couple of men in dark uniforms enter the room. It's Bragan, head of security, and Hensel, the governor. Hensel's like, if Earth had told us that you were coming, then, we could have, helped you land in the correct place and shit. And the doctor's like,
If Earth didn't warn you we were coming, Governor, they must have had a very good reason. I wonder what it was.
Right. Perhaps they didn't even know.
The doctor explains that he is the examiner, and he's here to examine, and he's going to start at once. And then he basically starts looking very closely at Bragan's uniform shirt or uniform top that he's wearing. And then he looks very closely at Hensel's uniform top. Hensel and Bragan kind of wonder why he's here. They're, just discussing possibilities about the rebel groups maybe, or Lesterson's capsule. And the doctor wants them to tell him about the capsule. Apparently, this capsule was found in the mercury swamps, and it predates the Earth human colony that was established by a couple centuries.
Interesting.
Hensel thinks that they shouldn't open it because it might have dangerous bacteria inside, which I guess is fair.
Sure.
The doctor says that he'll examine the capsule later, and that Hensel and Bragan can leave now, and they do. Ben mentions how clever it was for the doctor to check their uniforms to see if either of them basically are missing a button, because I guess it was a button that was placed in his hand earlier.
Oh, huh. Doctor's yeah, that was on purpose.
Ben warns him to not try to take this examiner stuff too far, because there is at least one person here in the colony that he won't be able to fool, that person being whoever shot the real examiner.
Yeah. I wonder if that guy's like part of the activists or like hired by the governor or what.
Yeah. We cut to a bit later on. The Doctor and Pollen and basically everybody else that we have met and been introduced to so far are all gathered in the laboratory as the Doctor is basically looking through a magnifying glass at the space capsule. He's examining it. And then he turns his attention to this piece of metal that Lesterson was polishing a little while ago that had dropped from the space capsule. Lesterson thinks that the metal could revolutionize space travel. So he really wants to open the capsule and see what else is in there. But the Doctor, when he sees Lesterson's metal, it reminds him of the metal he found in the TARDIS chest, which of course had reminded him of extermination.
Right. So does the capsule look like chunks of metal have like fallen off of it? Is it like bashed up or anything, or?
It didn't really look damaged or dented or anything at all to me. It looked like it was in pretty good shape, actually. So not really clear exactly how this piece of metal fell off.
Okay, fair enough.
Lesterson says that he has a theory of how to open the capsule. He says that there are basically two places that he thinks the opening mechanism might be. And he thinks that if they shine a laser at the opening mechanism, then it might fuse the opening device and get them into the capsule. So they try the laser on the first spot and nothing happens. And they try it on the second spot, and sure enough, a door slides open, the door to the capsule. And Lesterson and the Doctor both step into it.
Cool. Is the door sliding like Star Trek sliding door style?
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
Inside the capsule, they don't actually find very much. It's basically just like an entryway, sort of like the capsule's like anteroom or mudroom or whatever. And Lesterson thinks that he'll probably have to take more measurements and try to figure out where like the next opening mechanism is so they can shine a laser at it and hopefully gain access to the rest of the capsule.
Not even checking for like bacteria or trapped farts or anything.
I know, he doesn't give a shit.
Okay.
But the Doctor is like, that's enough for tonight. We should just leave it for later. And the Governor's like, dude, that's it? So then, like, why the fuck did we all even come out to the lab, like, just for this? And the Doctor is just like, well, this capsule is clearly, like, not from this planet Vulcan that we're on. And then he just, like, says goodnight and walks out of the room.
Man, I wish stuff would work in real life like that. Just be like, nah, it's cool. We're done. Bye, guys. Like, everyone just goes with it.
Ben's like,
What's he up to now?
Polly's like,
Then we're not going to let him out of our sight.
so two of them follow him out of the room. Hensel asks Lesterson if it was worth it to send for this idiot examiner from Earth. And Lesterson's like,
I didn't send for him. I thought you did.
Maybe it was the
Hensel,
rebels.
yeah, it could be. Yeah, it seems like, if we can trust them both, that it was not either Hensel or Lesterson. So
Yeah.
Hensel basically tells Lesterson to keep the examiner busy and keep his nose out of their business. And then he and Quinn leave the room. And as the camera fades to black, Lesterson realizes that the doctor stole the piece of metal that came off of the ship.
Nice.
Uh-huh. We cut to a little bit later that night. Polly and Ben follow the doctor as he sneaks back into the laboratory with both pieces of metal. And he goes to the space capsule's entryway and inserts one of the pieces of metal into a slot on the wall. And that actually is how you open the door to the next room.
Oh. They're keys.
You could have opened this before.
These two pieces of metal are identical. The doctor got one of them from the Daleks himself.
Why do you keep saying the doctor if you mean you?
Ben's still kind of not quite sure that this is actually the doctor.
Right? Come on, Ben, catch up.
So in the next room of the capsule, they see two Daleks. These Daleks are both all dusty and covered in cobwebs. They seem to be non-functional. As the three of them approach these two Daleks, though, one of the Daleks' arms moves slightly. And, they all kind of freak out for a moment. But Ben and Polly don't think anything could have survived 200 years in the mercury swamp. The doctor's just like,
Nothing human, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're all in for a bad surprise.
uh-huh.
Except the doctor, I guess.
Polly notices some scuff marks basically on the floor. I guess she had a pretty high perception. And she points him out to the doctor, who starts examining them.
But there are 3 Daleks in here. What's happened to the other one?
Oh, shit.
And just then, Ben notices something scuttling across the floor. It's like a weird little mutant claw thing.
Oh, shit.
And yep, as it goes under the door out of the room, the words on the screen say, Doctor Who, Patrick Troughton.
Oh, boy. So they've got a Dalek rat claw thing on the loose now.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's pretty fun. New doctor directly into Dalek business. Neck deep.
Yeah, for real.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, seeing the new doctor. Obviously, this is the first time we've had a new doctor. So, yeah, kind of fun seeing him, kind of figure out his new body and, what he can and can't do. He's also got, sort of a different personality. It seems, less of kind of a curmudgeonly, grumpy old man and, more of I guess kind of sarcastic, making jokes and kind of just doing what he wants and stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know, I got images of Pan just playing his pan pipe, when the doctor was, talking to them using his recorder, it's kind of a dick move in a sense, but it's also like pretty awesome.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I thought the recorder was a really fun touch. His hat was pretty fun. You know, like I mentioned, it's like sort of a tall stovepipe hat. It's probably like, you know, goes like 6 or 8 inches up from his head. It kind of has a rounded top on it.
Awesome. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, pretty goofy and fun.
I hope he like stores crap inside the hat, because why else would you have a stovepipe hat?
Yeah, seriously.
If not to put things in.
So yeah, excited to see like how the serial goes and how the new Doctor goes.
Yeah, me too. I like him so far. He's weird. I really like how the old Doctors, at least so far, have just, like, yeah, they're likable, they're pretty relatable at times at least, but like at other times you can definitely tell like they're alien, like they're not, I don't know. They don't relate to humans in a certain sense.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like, I think at this point in the show, they haven't, you know, this show production hasn't quite decided, like, if he's an alien or just, like, a weird human or what. But, yeah, like, definitely, you know, the Doctor, like, doesn't really relate to normal human stuff in the way that a normal human would. Mm-hmm. Which is fun.
I guess that's my bad. I shouldn't be metagaming, having seen some of the, like, modules that come after this one.
So I had a couple of endnotes to mention. One thing that I read online, you know, I usually look at the fandom.com, TARDIS.fandom.com or whatever. I look at their page about the serial, and I read that Annika Wills, who plays Polly, and Michael Craze, who plays Ben, they kind of wanted to prank Patrick Troughton when he joined the show. So I guess at the start of rehearsals, they both wore T-shirts that said, "Come back, Bill Hartnell, all is forgiven."
Nice.
Uh-huh. I guess like Patrick Troughton at the time was like pretty insecure about his position in the show basically, and he apparently like didn't really take it very well.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah. But you know, he got over it, and I guess the 3 actors actually became like pretty good friends. So
nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
Good.
Of course, as we know, Star Trek the original series was airing around this time, and Star Trek had used Vulcan as a planet name before this serial did.
Right.
But I guess, you know, people think that both shows came up with the name independently. They don't really think that Doctor Who stole it from Star Trek or whatever.
Yeah, well, I guess that's up for debate. But doesn't Vulcan, like, have... It had a meaning even before that, right? Like, has to do with rubber or something? Like, vulcanizing rubber?
Yeah, it's like it's related procedure to volcanoes, I think. And I'm pretty sure it comes... Like, the name itself comes from, I think, Roman mythology.
Oh, right.
Possibly Greek, but I think Roman.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's like one of my weak suits. You could say it's my Achilles horse.
Nice. And yeah, so I guess the other thing that I wanted to mention is to let the listeners know that I am basically stopping, well, I basically already have stopped looking at the Doctor's Watcher Twitter account at all. Kind of, you know, I'm done with Twitter, X, shitter, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah, good riddance to that Nazi-infested shithole.
Indeed. I have started a Doctor's Watcher Blue Sky account, so if you want to follow us on Blue Sky, It's at drwatcher.busky.social.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually posted anything there yet, and I was never that active on the TDW Twitter, so we'll see, if or how much I ever post on the TDW Blue Sky, but yeah, feel free to follow it. I'll probably, at the very least, post whenever a new episode's out and shit.
That's cool. What about our other contact methods? Those are still good, right?
Yep. Listeners can still email us at thedoctorswatcher@gmail.com. And yeah, that's probably the best ways to contact us, is either email or Blue Sky.
Cool. Well, that all sounds good. I hope I'm not jumping the gun to go to the thanking section. Thanks, listeners, for listening to me listen to Kyle talk about Doctor Who, and listening to Kyle talk about Doctor Who, and also listening to whatever you heard in the background whilst you listened to us listening to each other.
Indeed.
And also, thanks to myself for the awesome Doctor's Watcher theme song. If you want to contact me, you can email the email we mentioned earlier, or circuit.23@gmail.com. Which actually did get a contact. Man, I can't remember the person's name now. Someone asked me for music for their podcast, and I was interested in doing it, and I emailed them back, but then they never replied. So if you are listening, person who I unfortunately forgot your name for the moment, try again.
Nice.
I mean, I'm very busy for the next probably month, since we don't have an actual house to move to, but if you got some time, I'd be interested after that.
Sweet. Yeah, you have all heard his work. You know that he can make good podcast theme songs.
Yes, and kind of okay Star Trek song imitations.
I think kind of okay was basically the goal for that, so...
Yeah, in that sense, it was perfect.
Uh-huh. Awesome, yeah, and thanks to you, Ryan, for listening to me talk all about Doctor Who. Also, thanks to Benny, our co-host emeritus, for spending 5 years listening to me talk all about Doctor Who.
Indeed, what a continuing inspiration Benny is.
And yeah, I think that about wraps it up. So come back in 2 weeks for Power of the Daleks episode 2.
Nice.
Bye.
Bye.
So the murdered man was the real examiner. Well, didn't you say you did it?
The doctor got this button, though.
No, I think he's pretty dull round here. I don't know why we don't just go back to the TARDIS.
Doctor, are you going to let them think you're the real examiner? Well, won't that be dangerous?
Look, why don't you stop blowing that thing and talk to us properly?
Ben!
No, don't you start. It's bad enough with him.
Well, he hasn't done anything.
No, that's just the trouble. He knows what happened back at the TARDIS, yet will he tell us? Will he come out and say? Will he admit to being the doctor?